blessed by the divine. So in this session, we are going to learn the meaning of the word life force. So far, we have studied about body and mind. And in this session, we're going to learn about life force. Okay. Kayagapam is about learning the relationship between body, mind, life force, biomagnetism, and vital fluids. In the next session, we'll be studying about vital fluids. Okay. We'll start today's session with a small exercise. Okay. Small experiment. What we are going to do is we have a fruit. We're going to make this fruit move without touching it. Okay. So keep your attention in your arms and repeat the mantra what I'm saying. Okay. You need to do it with full attention. Om, I, green, vada vada. Om, I, green, vada vada. Om, I, green, vada vada. Okay. Slowly towards it. Om, I, green, vada vada. Did you see it move? No? If it moves only, it is a problem. Okay? In the universe, every object continue to be in the same state unless a force is applied to it. Unless something is pushed. If nothing is being pushed, either from internally or externally, nothing moves. Okay? This is a fundamental law in universe. And the factor which pushes it is called force. If the push is coming from outside, it is force. If the push is coming from inside, within, it is called energy. Okay? There is nothing in this universe that moves without that push. So this factor is called force. Okay? That has to be very clear. We understood what is the meaning of the word force now. Now, what is this? Maybe I'll bring it closer. But nice. And what is this? Okay. Big apple. There's no other difference. It's just small and big. There is no other difference. The smaller one looks like plastic. Okay. Then what are the other differences? It's almost the same color. Okay. The pattern, it is different. Right. What else is the difference between the two? Or what is the difference between a plastic apple and a real apple? Okay. Let's say, so we are talking about the difference between a real apple and a plastic apple. Let's say instead of a plastic, if I make it out of wax and if you keep it in sun, then the plastic apple or the wax apple can also expire. Can also expire, right? Then what is the difference between, or if I make it little simple, what is the difference between a living thing and a non-living thing? In a living thing, there is life and life within. So what does it mean? We are alive. When do we say, when do we say something is living? When do we classify it as a living thing? When do we identify, oh, this is a living thing, it is still alive? Mhm. It can give another life. It can. Hmm. Okay. Organic matter. Or can we say that a living thing is something which grows in a very simple term? It can grow and it has the ability to replicate itself. Okay. That which has the ability to grow and has the ability to replicate itself is what we call it as living thing. And for that ability, for doing that factor, it is a work, right? Some movement is done. The force which is used for that is what we call as life force. Very simple, right? Clear? What is life force? So for that to grow, for that to replicate itself, it requires some movement. The force that is required for making that movement is what is life forces. Simple. All right. Now, where did this apple got that life force from? Got that force from? Apple got its life force from the tree. That energy, since it is coming from within, we call it as energy. Where did the tree got its energy from? It is doing photosynthesis and it is getting water and soil around it is getting energy from. Let's take one source, photosynthesis. Where did from the sun? Where did the sun got its energy from? Sun has its energy of its own. Is it sun just making energy continuously? Sun, within the sun, we have small atoms or the hydrogen atoms. These atoms, as they collide, within that, whatever it is binding them together, that energy is getting released, right? And at a tinier level, the atoms and the nucleus, they're also moving, right? Who pushed those atoms? Who pushed those nucleus? How did that move? Chain reaction. Who pushed the first, started the first chain? See, even if it is a chain reaction, one pushing each other, still it is a move, right? Still there is a movement in the electrons and the nucleus. Right? In the sun, it is still spinning. That means it is still continuing to push. Right? We know that the earth is spinning. It is continuing to, that means something is continuing to push. Everything is continuing to push. Everything is continuing to spin around. So that means the factor that is pushing cannot just push once and stop. Right? Whatever is spinning, whatever that is the factor for that push, should be always been there. Okay, should be always been there. The factor that is required for that movement should be always exist, which is causing everything to spin around. Right? And that factor, as it collection together, when it functions within the atom, we call it as nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion energy as it functions together, or that when it continues to push from all the directions, whatever it is spinning within itself, that factor that is pushing, that itself also gets spun, and as that factor which is continuing to push, whatever is spinning is collecting together, and as a mass, as a group together, that spins around it. And that kind of a clusters together to form atoms, nucleus, and more such clusters together form elements. When the all surrounding force continue to push, whatever is inside due to this continuous push will get emitted from within. That emitted energy particles, right? The self-spinning fundamental energy particles, that emitted energy particles is what we call it as magnetic field. Okay, you can imagine it like this. See, in a waterfall, if you go to Niagara or any waterfall or Kuttalam, as the water flows down, the force in which as it flows down, that is like current. Around it, there will be a mist or a field. Right? That mist or field came from the water only. The small particles, when it mixes with the field around it, it forms like a haze around it. Right? We call that as a magnetic field. The same thing in a current carrying conductor. When this fundamental spinning unit, the most fundamental spinning unit means you cannot break it down any further. At that level, when that collect together, when that cluster of those units run in a conductor, in a wire, we call that as current. As it spin around, these fundamental units, this fundamental charge units, mix with the field around it, forming a magnetic field. Right? This is current. Around it, what is there is magnetic field. Similarly, in the body, right, we have the fundamental unit of functioning, fundamental energy particle, and functioning in all over our body. Around it, as it functions, around it there will be a field connected, that is magnetic field. Right? So the energy is flowing around it, there will be a field, magnetic field. So net collection of the magnetic field is what is flowing through all the body. Since we are a living being, we are, and this force is required for our living as well, life as well. We're calling this as life force. And this magnetic field is in a living being. We call it as biomagnetic field. In a current carrying conductor, we call it as electromagnetic field and electric current. Here it is life force and biomagnetic field. That's it. Very simple. Okay. Any questions so far? Very simple. We understood what is biomagnetism, what is life force.